and welcome everyone. I have to click my recording button. There we go. And welcome everyone. Um, it will help you if you heed the advice from Karen of making me a little bit larger than I am, because it is not a typical webinar or training. Yes, we are definitely going to cover doing yoga with young children, but in a very active format. So, what that means is, just to set the stage for you, you may want to have your handouts right by you that Karen sent off to you, because I have them labeled and I drew yogic pictures for you to help you, because all of our brains work differently and how we describe different things. Second of all, you won't need much of a big space. I'm just in a little narrow hallway. I do, however, have my yoga mat on the ground, or you could use a yoga mat, a beach towel, or your carpeting. Anything that's a little bit softer for you. Have water handy, and make sure that if you've had any medical procedures on your knees, your shoulders, your spine, anything of that nature, that you're adhering to the medical advice of your physical therapist and your doctors, because I don't get to see you right in the room, although I will add modifications that you'd want to use for children as well. So you're welcome to do this within a chair as well, because some of your children might be utilizing chairs or walkers or any type of brace. And you may have children too that are somewhere on the autism spectrum. So I'll talk about little things. I'll interject it through everything else that I do. As Karen mentioned, my name is Tammy Notter, or Tamara Notter, and I've been in the field of early childhood for 43 years, and I've been in the world of yoga and fitness 41 years. So how that emerged was, for 41 years, I've been operating in a parallel process. My day world, education; my night world, fitness and yoga. And then they're a parallel process. And I I use a lot of what I learn in fitness and yoga to help me with transitions for children, with my keeping my own self really grounded, helping my students that I'll see at night that are in fitness, because when I get done here at 5:30, I'll have a little bit, about 15 minutes, and then I'll have to leave off and go teach 2 fitness classes. So I'm living that parallel process, and we know how active children are. Keep in mind, I will be talking, I don't know all the age ranges you're working with, but I'll mention non-mobiles, I'll mention toddlers and twos, 3 to 5s, and out of school timers. So that'll get interwoven. Usually with non-mobiles, I do things with their families where the mom, the dad, the auntie, the uncle, the caregiver might be in a tabletop pose, which you're going to learn really soon, and maybe the non-mobiles on their back looking up at the adult with fascinating eyes, and the adult is doing the pose and just talking with the baby. So that's just one example. I have seen toddlers do downward facing dog. I have some pictures of that. 3 to 5 year olds maneuver through this very well. And school agers, if any of you are working in an out of school time program, do know that they like you to use like the real names. Because what I'm going to do for us today, I'm going to do it in sort of a storytelling format. I might just take 4 poses at a time and do like a little story vignette around different poses. or I may string it together. But I want you to know that my stories are just a way to help you see how you can use it with children. That my story may seem sort of silly. However, you can create your story based on a favorite children's book, like The Hungry Caterpillar or A Tree is Good, you know, all the wonderful literature we use with children. You can tie that in. Maybe you're an adult who just needs yoga for transitions. So maybe you're going from large group time, small group time, and you just need to shift to going outside. So maybe in your head, you think of a really quick pose. Everyone inhale up and reach for the sky like a warrior one. So you can use it so many ways. You can use it all through the day in many places. Now, the one disadvantage I have right now, because I really want to cover a lot of content, I may not be able to see your chats or any questions you have till we get near the end. So if you would offer me that grace that I might not be able to answer those specific questions right away. And do know on your handout, you do have an email by which you can reach me. I do want to assure you too that I have the appropriate level of education for early childhood and the appropriate level of education for yoga, plus certifications also in just children's yoga. So just a little reassurance there for all of you. And I'm thinking if there's any major points I want to bring up. I'll infuse a lot of early childhood learning and adult learning throughout. I won't be talking too much longer, but I need to do this just to set the foundation for all of us. So on your handout, I just want you to know, and I'm holding one of the handouts, I've listed a lot of reasons, the why behind why you want to do yoga with young children. Sometimes your families may not always understand why are you doing, why is the teacher doing yoga or doing that with my children? And then you've got some words here to help the families understand, oh, I see, from a physical benefit, social, emotional, things of that nature. And even the Illinois Early Learning Guidelines and Illinois Early Learning Development Standards can be, yoga can slide into some of those. And I'll mention that in just a bit. At the bottom of the first page, if you did print it, I just talk about yoga hitting 7 senses. And we do all know we have 5, but I just added 2 for you to think of. The 2 I added were proprioception, the perception of body awareness and space, and children getting the understanding, wow, my body moves forward, it moves laterally, it moves up, it moves down, it moves wide, it moves thin, all the different ways it moves in space. Vestibular, the perception of balance, like can they balance, or the perception of how do they move fast in space. So things to think about. And on the second page, just as a resource, I've given you some poses that lend themselves very well to vestibular input, some that lend themselves very well to proprioception. And we do know the importance of crossing the midline for children and creating that development in the brain of using both sides. So as we move to the bottom of that second page, I want you to know, even though I might have listed Illinois Early Learning Development Standards that may be focused on physical, don't forget that you can also include maybe some of the mathematic ones. We're making shapes like triangle pose, a straight line pose, a T pose. So getting into literacy and math and things of that nature, and direction, geography. We're going to move over here in our space, over here, or even when you tell your stories, you're going to be adding other elements. So I just want you to know that you can include this type of movement, yoga, and some of your other concepts of learning. Some children do learn best when they're moving and being physical. They can gain those concepts better. So I may think of other things I'd like to tell you along the way, but an important thing now is wherever you are, let's stand up, because I am going to give you some fun breathing strategies to use for children. Why do we want to have breathing strategies for children? Because we want them to be able to work on how they can control their breath, which in turn is going to help them with their self-regulation, and maybe you assisting them with co-regulation before all these kind of big emotions happen with them. Children do things, big emotions happen. So breathing is a really great way to get the children to pause, and just let's try this breath. And within yoga, if any of you are taking yoga for your own practice, or as a person who has studied it and continues to study it, the most important thing in yoga is the breath. Let's say you were my adults in my yoga class and I only had 10 minutes with you today for some reason. My focus would be then with all of you is, I only have 10 minutes. We're just going to do breath. Okay, for the regulation. Now, let's kind of get you in the mindset of the breath. So take your right hand, put it on your chest. Take your left hand, put it on your belly. And just for thinking purposes, for you to sort of assess your breathing, today I'm going to have you, well, we'll do an inhale through the nose and an exhale through the nose. Unless right now you're an adult having a lot going on with your nose, if you do need to do open mouth breathing for the exhale, I completely understand. So here we go. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Now, many of you do 2 cleansing breaths, so that one will be an exhale through your mouth. So here we go. We'll inhale, exhale. It's okay to be loud. Inhale, exhale. So just a noticing for you as an adult, if you had a noticing that you were truly, when you were inhaling, your expansion was through your abdominal area, you were doing belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, which is really an effective way to breathe. If some of you noticed that you were breathing a little bit more from the chest, just chest breathing isn't as effective as breathing from the belly. Okay, breathing from the belly will get oxygenated blood throughout your system. It'll help your lungs, your rib cage, different organs in your body. So just just a thought. It took me a long time when I was first studying many, many years ago to really work on my breathing from here. If any of you are singers or in choirs, you already know how to do this because that's how you're taught to also breathe when you're trying to sing. So later on, when we get down to the floor, I'm going to show you an easy way to teach children about that, a visual way. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you some fun breathing strategies you can do with children that are really active and have characters in them that some, children relate to different kinds of animal. Typically, I think it's mostly all animals that I'm going to show you. But you work with the children and we're going to inhale or breathe in. And our exhale is going to be the sound we're going to make when we're these different creatures or animals. So are you ready? Okay. So first we're going to do dragon's breath. Everybody get your dragon rings going. Yes, stretch them. And I know you might be at home or in a classroom, and maybe the superintendent or the principal's looking down the hallway and wondering, what are they doing? Well, you can tell them tomorrow, I learned ways to help children in self-regulation and breath. So inhale, ready, exhale, fire breath coming out. Inhale. All right, are you ready for volcano breath? Oh boy, it's erupting today. Oh, we're going to go down a little bit and we're going to inhale. Get ready. Great sound effects. I wish I could hear you. Here we go. And here comes the lava. Inhale, lava explosion. One more time. Here we go. Lion's breath. Some of you already may know lion's breath because it might be in some of your yoga books that you're using for with children, possibly when you're doing yoga with them. Now, you are unfortunately going to have to see my really unusual face during lion's breath. Luckily, I'll see all of your faces, so I won't be scared. But you might be scared of my face, but just do the best that you can with looking at me. So get your lion's mane ready. All right, so here we go, because what we're going to do when we exhale is we're going to stick out our tongues and bug out our eyes. So inhale, exhale. Ha! I'm sure I looked beautiful. Here we go. Let's do it again. Inhale and ha! Yes, I really encourage you to do everything with me because you're creating muscle memory for yourself so that tomorrow you can do some of these things with the children. Snake breath. Here we go. Here's our snake. Inhale. Ooh, the snake is going. And here we go. Here we go again. And inhale. And exhale. This one is cat breath. So we're going to get our paws ready, our cat paws ready. All right. So here we go. We're inhaling. And if you want it, I'm going to use more of the cat like hissing than the meow, but you could use the meow too. Here we go. Inhale. Well, let's do the meow for the second one. Here we go. Inhale. Meow. That was a scary meow coming from me. Okay, so those are some. And do know that you can make up your own. Like earlier today, I did a yoga training for another group. And right on the spur of the moment, I made one up. And I was just thinking, what could I make up right now? So, rocket ship, get your rocket ship up there. We're ready, blasting off. 3, 2, 1, inhale. You could do firecrackers. The creativity is at your hands. And we have a tendency in the education field to be very creative. Now, some other options I gave you here for older children or things to think about. There's a thing you could do called tug of war. So put your left hand here and your right hand is on top of it. So it looks like this, but it's going to be upright. Now, the other piece I'm going to do is I'm going to finger lock my hands. So it looks like that, finger lock. All right. So here we are up. My elbows are up. So everybody inhale and exhale as you push out. You should feel a lot of that work in your shoulders. Now, you need to be even, meaning I need to operate your body evenly on each side. We are asymmetrical beings, so we're not perfect on each side, but I need to make sure I give you both sides of everything. So just switch your hands. So here's my right one, left on top. Here I am, finger lock, and inhale and exhale. And with children, it's okay to do the inhale, exhale through the mouth, because that's enough for them to try to learn that. If you were to try to teach them true yogic breathing, eventually they would get it, but it can be a bit of a challenge at first. So another one I do is, it says orange juice squeeze here. So you could squeeze an orange, or you could pretend it's a wet sponge. Uh-oh, we're reaching up for the wet sponge. Reach with that right arm. Squeeze all the water out. We inhale and we're squeezing with our exhale. Other arm, inhale. Reach up, squeeze it. Great. This is just a fun activity. I like to use it as a mental health and social emotional activity. And I'm just going to demo. I'm going to demo. I'm going to have Jennifer throw it back to me after I throw it to her. But it's called a worry ball or let it go breath. And what it is, within in your space, you could use just no ball at all, like I'm going to do, or a soft ball. But what it is, non-mobiles, toddlers too, preschool, school age, with us, we all have worries as human beings. So what this is just letting children let go of their worries. So honestly, my worry right now is that I hit my two dogs that are over there are staying very occupied. And I need to make sure so I can be present for you. So I'm just have that a little worry in my head. But Jennifer, I'm going to throw you my worry ball. That's my worry, Jennifer. Here we go. Catch it. She caught it. Now, Jennifer, if it's easy for you to unmute and you'd like to share a worry, you can.
I'm gonna hope that neither of my children come open my door while I'm doing this.
Okay, you can throw the ball back to me. Oh, great throw, Jennifer. It had power. So if I had more time, I would throw it to all of you within this webinar, because I've been known to do that before, but I want to make sure I get everything in. But it's a really great activity to do. And then what I like to do is, I collect everybody's worries. So the ball's here, but it's going to get bigger. Throw your worries into my big ball, just with your arms. Go like that. Whoever I can see, throw it in there. Get rid of that worry. That's it. Whip it in there. Okay, I'm going to take this worry, because guess what? I want to be present for you, and I want you to be present for me, and we can't do nothing about it. I'm going to throw it out this window here. Can't worry about it now. We'll deal with it later. So I just threw it out the window. So that's the whole thought of us being present with children and modeling for children how to be present for their friends and all of us. So because I always say to people, this moment that we're together on this webinar, I won't have this exact moment with you, once we leave at 5:30. So I need to be present. All right. So, oh gosh, it's about time to do some story creating. But before we do that, I'm going to limber up your spine a little bit. And I may add another version too. This is what I would do with adults, but you could do it with children too. And I'm going to show you a fun version I do with kids as well. It's not on your handout, but I think once you live through the adult one and then I show you the child one, and if you're doing it with me, you'll create some muscle memory. But your spine does move in 5 ways. Now, remember what I said about if your medical professionals or your physical therapist don't want you twisting your spine or anything, please listen to that. Do what is available for your body. Honor your body. But here we go. We're going to inhale up, stretch tall. This is lengthening our spine. And then we're going to exhale, and we're going to do a full fold. You could do halfway. You could do your thighs, your knees, or you could go all the way to the floor. Okay. Then we're going to inhale up again. Connect your hands at the top. And your arms are just a little bit behind your ears. And take a nice inhale and stretch to the right. Your spine moves laterally and up and to the left. So we just did lengthening, forward fold, and lateral. We have 2 more to do. Look up at your hands, inhale, and then exhale into a slight back bend. Believe it or not, your spine was meant to do back bends. And then from here, we'll come back and hands on your hips. You could pretend, hands on your hips, I mean arms, but your hips are like headlights. So we're going to keep our headlights forward, and here's our hips. And if you are allowed to maneuver your spine in a twist, go ahead and do that. I'm just doing this to warm you all up. There we go. Now that's an adult version, but it's also a version I do with kids. But I'm going to teach you another fun, kind of dramatic thing I do with kids too. And it incorporates the breath and the twisting. So we're all going to pretend that right now we're a blender. So pop your lid off your blender. All right, good. And just say out loud to yourself all the things you're going to put in your smoothie. Ooh, say it out loud to yourself so you know. I'm going to do, whatever you want, whatever liquid you're going to have. If it's an adult beverage, oh, don't tell me right now. But whatever beverage you're going to put in there. Okay, so get that all in there. Usually I have the kids call out lots of the fun stuff. And you get anywhere from tomatoes to tuna fish to spinach to banana, the gamut and creativity of children. Put the lid back on. And you always do sound effects. Now we're going to turn it on. So hands on your shoulders, hips forward, make sound effects. Here goes our blender. Whew. Okay. Now, believe it or not, you're going to turn back into your person. So now you're a person getting ready to drink your smoothie. Get your big cup in front. And here you go. Drink your smoothie. Glug, 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 glug. And rub your tummy. And then this is, you can always remind the children, this is where to we breathe from. So that's just a fun little thing I threw in there for you. Remember, these things can all be used as transitions. The breathing things I shared with you, remember, you can teach those all day, any time of the day, everywhere. You can take one, use it as a transition, use it to start your large group, small group, whatever you want to do. So now we're going to get into the heart of me telling a story. It's not going to be really fanciful, but I'm doing it to give you ideas of how you can utilize the poses. Okay, what happens here is I'm going to need to lower my camera for a little bit. Then I'm going to put my camera back up, and then I'm going to lower it down. So I don't want some of you to visually get really dizzy, but I'm kind of taking you through like how I would do a yoga class with adults as far as sequencing, but changing it in a way that is storytelling for children. So, like for example, in adult class, I would get some seated things done. Then I do standing things. Then I bring you back down to seated. Okay. So hang in there with me and try not to get dizzy because I'm going to lower my camera and try to adjust. You're going to see me sit on my yoga mat. Here's my mat. Here I am. Okay, good. Now you might miss the top of my head, but here's my legs. And I might lower that a bit. There we go. And you might lose half my head, but you get the general gist. And I'll try to peek at you. All right. So if you use your handout, you'll notice that I labeled the poses. However, I also drew them to the best of my ability. You can get them online, but boy, they want you to pay a nice significant amount of money to get their drawings. And I'm thinking, I can do this. So let's start our story. It's the story about two children. They surely want to go on an adventure, and they're neighbors. One lives to the right, one lives to the left. But they're waking up in the morning, getting ready to prepare for their adventure. And what they do notice, because their bed is like right here, but they're able to look out the window and they notice some butterflies. And so here they are. And the butterflies are just flying their wings so the kids could move their knees. Now, as an adult, if you notice that your knees don't go down far, that's okay. That's why I didn't pull my yoga blocks here, but I've got something handy I can use. This is sort of a giant yoga block. It's like storage container. But what you can do as an adult is just put a yoga block under each knee to support you. Okay. People's hips going wide is completely genetic. It's not necessarily a view of, how you do yoga or whatever. It's mostly genetic and just how anatomically your hips open. So that they saw butterflies out their window, and then the butterfly landed on a flower. So you could have a flower bud where your hands just go underneath your ankle bones, or you could lift your feet a little more, or you could really lift your feet up higher. It depends on how your flower is blooming. So they saw those flowers out there and the butterflies, and each of them, even though they were at their own houses, were very, very excited that, oh gosh, it looks like it's a great day. It's going to be so much fun. So they decide it's time to stretch and get out of their beds. And I'm following along with the poses on your handout, just so you're not too confused. I'm not using Sanskrit today. That might be a language of poses I would use with adults. It's the ancient language of India and how most yoga instructors are taught. So inhale up. Oh, they're stretching out of their beds. Exhale forward. What a nice stretch. And you could play around with the kids too and add things like inhale up. Oh, let's stretch over here to the right. Oh, let's stretch over here to the left. You can add some nice things that are stretches that can be safe for the children. So they decide, they get out of their beds, they get dressed, they get ready, and they meet each other at both of their houses in the front. So here they are. And right now I'm in what you call a tabletop pose. And we're going to be able to do lots of cool things from tabletop. So they're in a tabletop pose. And oh my gosh, they're starting to see a variety of animals. This is amazing. So the first animal they see is a cow. So I'm going to lower my tummy down towards the floor and my arms are straight. My bottom is sticking up and I'm going to go moo. That way too, the children are synchronizing their breath because they have to do that inhale and that exhale of moo. And then the cow gets scared by a cat. Meow. So arch your back up. Here we go, another cow. Ooh. Another cat. Meow. Right now, as early childhood people who've been possibly working all day with young children, this should feel really good on your spine. All right, so from here, you can make your cat a walking cat. And I'm going to do this side of my body first so you can see it. So it'd be left arm extended, right leg extends back. And if you look at the drawing, you'll see how I said opposite arm and leg. And then switch over. So anytime I'm showing you something else, you can always go back to walking cat. Let's say I'm just going to keep walking my cat. Let's say you're doing some poses with the kids. And as an adult, the kids are like, "Ooh, let's do this one, let's do that one." But as an adult, you might be feeling a little bit fatigued. It's always okay to stay in tabletop and get your bearings. It's also okay, especially during this time together, to make your knees wide and go into child's pose if you need to. And then when we're standing, I'll show you a go-to pose you could use. Now, because just to make some challenge for you, I'm going to offer you swan pose, but please know you do not have to do swan pose, but I'm just making it an offering. So in case you're interested, my left arm is extended, my right leg is extended out. I'm bending at the right knee and I'm bringing my hand around and catching my right foot. But if you're like saying to yourself, absolutely not, Tammy, then just go into walking cat. See how versatile that is? If you did do swan, let's do the other side because I want to make sure to keep you evenly stretched. I'm coming around. There we go. And there. Beautiful. Before we move on, go ahead and let's see another cow and cat. Ooh. Meow. Good. Now, this one, you might lose some of my body, but maybe not. A lot of you know this one and probably do it with your children. So, and we're going to do it again, but downward facing dog. So basically, I'm going to move myself up so you can see where my butt is. Basically, a downward facing dog, it looks just like the picture. My hands are forward, my feet are back. And basically I'm making a triangular shape. Now, what I like to do with downward dog is go ahead and move your knees. If you alternate bending your knees, you're walking the dog. And you can play around with fun things like lifting a leg, and now you're a three-legged dog. So if you lifted one leg, make sure you lift the other. And I'm going to come back down near table. I always tell people this because it's a really true fact. I used to have a three-legged dog. So the three-legged dog had more meaning for me after that. All right. Now I'm going to show you some other fun things you could do. So we're in downward facing dog. And you could, if you're like, oh, Tammy, I feel like going down to my knees, you can. But if you want to join me in plank, and just come here and plank. And then lowering more and just up with a nice back bend or cobra. But do know that you could come all the way down to the ground and you could do just a baby cobra. And I'm going to just lower my camera so you can see my baby cobra. You could do just a baby cobra. See? Also, this is Sphinx pose. All right. Now, some of you that want a little bit more, you want to do other things with the kids, put your feet flat. And then we're going to come back a little bit towards our chest. And you can lift up. And if you want to lift up further, lift your knees off the ground for upward dog. There we go. And you can always go to child's pose anytime you want. Now I'm going to stop here a moment and just have some dialogue with you. So basically how that section, how the story is going so far, the two children are neighbors. They saw butterflies. They saw flowers. Who would have thought they ran into cows and cats in their neighborhood? Then who would have thought they saw some dogs? Some had all four legs, some had three. They saw an upward dog that just used its knees. And they were on a plank, walking maybe across a bridge. You could use plank that way. So just see how you can put the things together, because the adventure is not finished. They still haven't gotten to the mountain. But oh my, on the way, they're walking down the sidewalk. You're not going to believe what they see. Oh, and I'm so happy to see a dog friend with us. I just want to say, I'm pretty sure that's a dog. I want you to notice, if any of you are dog owners, do notice how when your dogs wake up in the morning, they do stretch that way. So they're telling us something. They're telling us something. All right. So are you ready? Because guess what? We're going to get on our knees. However, if you are on your knees, my knees are hip width apart. Take your mat, or you could use a towel or anything, your jacket, an extra shirt. If your knees feel really bumpy on the ground, support them with something. It's okay to do that as adults. So my head's going to be cut off a little bit because I want you to see my back, my low back. All right. So from the front, I'm going to start here and show you something before I go into full camel. This is me kind of getting the children there, getting movement within their spine and their arms. And all along, I want you to be thinking about, if you have a child in a chair, and talking to their physical therapist or their medical staff about what you could do with them upright, or what you could do with them with whatever their situation is. because you can modify everything. This morning, a couple people didn't bring their yoga mats and they did things from the chair. So it was really great to model that. So your right arm, here comes a wind from the right. And touch the top of your right heel. Oh, here comes a wind from the left. Touch that left heel. Right arm, here we go. Right heel. Right hand to right heel. Left, here we go. Inhale. Left arm to left heel. Wow, now the camels are really coming. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can see what I do. So our arms went. Now, what you can do, one you could do is what we call hands in jeans pocket. See my hands? I'm tucking them in the pocket and pushing my low back forward, squeezing my elbows together, and I'm making camel is a back bend. So here's our one hump camel, and you can also use your fists. I'm putting my fists in the low back. All right. Now, some children might say to you, oh, or you might notice, oh, they'd like to go a little further. In the end, what camel does look like is both our arms would come and we grab onto our heels. And then what you're going to notice how my abdomen is coming forward and my shoulders are squeezing together and I'm in a back bend pose. So you've got lots of options there. I'm going to sit on my feet right now, which is another kind of pose and a good one for your ankles and your feet. Now, what I want to say about camel and thinking of doing it, in a chair with children or where you really have to modify things and get some good advice too about the positioning from their PT, is they could always inhale, lift up, and just grab the arms of their chairs. Do know too, if you have some children on the autism spectrum, they may have, it just depends on what their sensory is. They may have to really go, my camel's still moving, or, whatever they need to do, as long as they're not, hurting anyone else around them. So do know you can make adjustments. So that was camel. And guess what? I'm going to pick you up and move you up because we're going to stand up and go into mountain because the two children are finally to the mountain. All right. So try not to get too dizzy. There we are. All right. Remember earlier I told you that child's pose and table might be really good, if you have to just sit with the kids for a moment. This is a really good one because you're just standing with your feet hip width apart and your hands to your sides, but your palms are facing forward and you're in mountain. Mountain is actually the starter pose for all other poses. So there's mountain. And earlier you did this. So this will come very natural to you now. The two children, they're like looking before the mountain and they're like, let's climb this thing. So they're climbing it in their mind's eye. And so are we. And then they get to the top and they go, wow, we're super hungry. But they realize they put bananas in their backpack. So they get the banana out, inhale up, and oh my gosh, it's so windy on this mountain though. All their bananas rolling around. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Go the other way. Will this banana ever stop? Ah. Okay. You know the drama of it all. Okay, so they peel one side of their banana. Here we go. Remember how we did the lateral stretch? And up again, and they peel the other side of the banana. Get that other side of it. And then they eat their banana. You'll see this on your sheet as ragdoll, but I'm just going to use it as dropping the banana peel today. Then they drop the banana peel. So you're kind of hanging and you're interlocking your arms and elbows together, almost like you're sort of a ragdoll. So your head is just free flowing and you're going to be dangling a little bit. And that, what we're doing here right now for you as adults and for the children is we're relieving some things in the cervical spine and letting your head have a rest. Heads are really heavy. So now, and now we're slowly come up. Now, because these children are so environmentally responsible, they take their banana peel and they throw it conveniently in the garbage can on the mountain. So make sure you throw your garbage can out. So see, in yoga, you can bring in other lessons, and the kids love going with you on that. I'm just scooting down here because I want to pick up my notes to remember. So here they are. They're on the mountain. And in the distance, this is such an interesting neighborhood. In the distance, they notice an ocean. Oh, wow, an ocean, an ocean. So, and they notice things on the ocean, like there are these people, and they're noticing they look like warriors. So whenever I talk to the kids about warriors, I explain that they're really good people trying to help us with good things, like our firefighters, our police officers, our postal workers, our teachers, our medical staff. Because right away, if you sometimes when you say warrior kids with all the superhero stuff, they start going, yeah, all that stuff. So you want to talk with them about warriors do a lot of good things too. Even Spider-Man does good things and such like that. So you'll figure out a way how to work that in with your kids. So the first warrior they meet, here's the front view. I'm going to go into a right lunge and my arms are going up. And in your drawing, it's there too. Okay. So now I'll do it from a side view. I'm in my right lunge, warrior one. So the warrior says hello to the children. And so everybody says hello too. The warrior does, the children, and they all bow down graciously to each other. So you can lower and inhale up. Now the warrior says that I am the warrior of the sun. So go to the middle. I'm using this as a transition point for you because we need to do warrior on the other side. So make sure you got a left knee bend now and you do your warrior on the other side and say hello. When in yoga for adults and sun, and some of you also, if you're taking yoga, you do know that each teacher has their own style or maybe a way they learn to pose named. Keep those arms stretched up. That they learn a name based on who taught them yoga. So what sometimes when I'm doing warrior one, when we bow down in that, it's exalted warrior. So that was warrior one, and then the bow down adds exalted warrior. This next warrior, you know really well. It's warrior two, okay? I know a lot of you have seen this one. So we're gonna turn our right knee to the right and bend it. It's always a heel to heel alignment for adults. The kids are going to do the best that they can, and then your arms are extended. So now they say hello to this warrior, and guess what this warrior's name is? This warrior is warrior of the full moon. Make your full moon. Now, you know, I did this as a transition point, so you could do warrior one, warrior two on this side. And full moon. Okay. Now, the next warrior pose is a balance pose. So if you were to look on your drawing, and what I recommend, if you can't easily step your feet together or jump them together, just toe heel them together. Let's say you're in a chair and you were doing at least maybe your warrior one, you were in the chair, but you were just turning your head. You could just toe heel your feet and get action within the feet if that part of the ankle and things were mobile for children. So warrior three, that's a balance pose. So you can always start off from a warrior one. And then what happens is on my front leg, I'm leaning forward and lifting my back leg up so I'm balancing. Again, I'm just showing you those in case you'd like a little bit more for challenge. So, and what I tell people too, for children or adults, if you just want to tap to the back and do your warrior three, you can. So we have warrior of the sun, the moon. Let's make warrior three, warrior of the water. Make that sound effect. And then make sure you do it on the other side. And then we're back to center. All right. So, gosh, it was so exciting that they met all these warriors. So now, and this is a pose a lot of you know, they see lots of trees around on the mountain. They saw the ocean and then there's trees. What I do want to say to you, do know that you can do any of the poses, like let's say warrior one, leaning against the wall. Here I am against the wall. You could do tree against the wall. You could do tree laying down on your mat. Those are ways to modify it for some children, okay? Nothing wrong with that. You could still do the pose on the floor against the wall or just freestanding. But everyone usually knows tree. And what I'm going to do for you now, just so you could see positioning of my feet. I'm looking to see if you can see my feet. Okay, that's my paper. Not so good. So I'll move it up. I'll describe it. How my feet are is my right foot. You could lay your right heel on top of your left foot, and my knee is rotated towards the right wall. That's kickstand. Now, some of you know to bring your foot up to the calf. Okay. You want to avoid having yourself or children put your foot right against the knee joint. Okay. You don't want anything pushing against the knee joint. Now, some of you are going to bring your leg all the way up to the inner thigh high. And that you'll be able to see really clearly when I do it. Some of you will be doing, you know, that. It depends on how slickery my pants are. And that could be your tree. But again, you could use the wall right now or your floor. So that's the tree on the right side. Take a moment because I want you to be even on your left side. What you will notice is because we're not symmetrical beings, that one side is better than another. Now, and I was explaining earlier today, sometimes you'll notice with the kids and yourself, your balance is a little wobbly. We call that hopping tree or tree in the wind. So that's okay. Sometimes we have wind in our trees. All right, now let's do some birds that happen to be flying into the trees. Are you ready? Oh boy, here come some birds from the right. They look like crows. Wow. So take your right leg, cross it over left. I am standing, but you can certainly do this from your chair. And oh, here we go. The crow is perching. Right now it's perching, but maybe it wants to sit in its nest. So you just lower your butt lower and you sit in your nest. If we come up a little higher, we're perching. And then let's sit in our nest. All right. Now make sure you get the crow that's coming to the left. Cross that left leg over right. Oh gosh, we're perching. But here we go. And nesting. Is everyone smiling? And then we go. Because you know your face has muscles too. We got to work those. All right. So that was our crow. Now, eagle's really interesting. And if some of you printed your handout, can you tell how interesting my eagle is? You're looking at probably going, what is she trying to say? Now, for eagle with younger children, you might just want to do the arms or just the legs. With eagle too, you can even do that laying down. So with the arms, we'll pretend here's our eagles. And the beautiful thing too, this is a great, just extra little fact. In Will County, there is 4 eagles nests, and they are live streaming, just watching the nests and the eaglets that will soon be born. Now, let's say you know your children just can't do this right now. The one way I'm going to show you, it's okay just to cross like this, because you're still going to feel that nice shoulder. That's a good modification, okay? Now, if here's a way to do eagle. The eagle's flying in from the right. It scoops under the branch, which is my left arm. We're here. The branch bends, and then we're going to touch our palms of our hands together. Some of you are going to touch your hands. Some of you will not. Completely a normal thing that would happen. And then sometimes what I like to do with eagle arms is maybe, oh, we're flying up, we're flying down, we're flying forward. But remember, you can always go to this. We're flying up, we're flying down, we're flying forward. Okay? Now, you know that eagle came from the right, and I have to have you even. So here comes the eagle from the left. It's going under the branch, and we're bending at the elbows, and we're bringing both of our hands together. And here we are. Oh, the eagle's going up. It's going down. It's going forward. Or it could be like this, going up and down and forward. Now the leg part on eagle, that is, I'll show you if you ever want to do it with the kids, and maybe you just want to do that. I'm lifting up my right knee, and I'm just wrapping my leg around my right leg around my left leg. That's a really complicated pose, but I'm just adding it for your extra challenge if you want. I still have been, man, I've been practicing yoga a long time, and I still can't, standing up, I can't wrap my foot. I can get my knee around across, but I can't wrap my foot around my calf, but I can do it if I'm laying down. So just so you know, that's how hard of a pose it can be. All right. So, gosh, the warriors, they met all those warriors. They saw all these flying type of animals. And believe it or not, the two children are like, boy, we sure would like to get on that ocean and see if we could get a closer look at those warriors. So they decide, and this is a pose a lot of you know, your right leg will be straight, your back leg will be straight, and your arms are here. We're going to go into our sailboat, which a lot of you will know is triangle. So let's do our mini sail. So put your hands on your hips, just so you get a sense of your mini sail. And then come down. All right. You could do a full sail by extending your arms. Some of your hands are going to go on your thigh. Some are going to go on your shin. Some of you are going to go lower. Just depends. And so they did that right sail. And now they saw starfish as well. And this is starfish. And I see somebody's doing a beautiful triangle. Just taking a peek. Sandra, that was a beautiful triangle. And then starfish, and then make sure we got to do it on the other side. Do your triangle on the other side. There you go. And the goal with triangle is that your chest is facing to the forward wall that you're facing. Remember, you can always do mini sails or mini triangles. And this is a good way to teach people, especially even adults, how to push, open their chest up so it will face forward. You can always do mini sails with their hands on their hips. And then starfish is just as it appears, wide legs, wide arms. And you could play around with your starfish like it's shining in the sun and maybe add a little back bend to it. All of you are doing so great. It's like 5:08. So we're going to do a few more things, and now there'll be time too that I'm going to try to take a look at what you might have said in the chat. So the next thing, now they're on their sailboat. But the neighbor children are thinking, gosh, starting to get a little tired. There was so much going on. Butterflies, flowers, cows, cats, dogs, camels, snakes, cobras, swans, warriors of every kind. So much. And so they decide, I just need a break. So they inhale up and they just do a quick forward fold to help them gain their thinking skills. And maybe they add a little ragdoll in there, a little droopy, just to give their head a rest. And then they slowly rise up. And now I'm going to bring you to the ground and bring my computer with it, because now we're going to go into ground things. And then we'll hang out at the ground for the rest of the session. I probably won't do the Tai Chi stuff today because in a couple weeks, I'll be doing Tai Chi as an hour and a half. So I just feel like I'd like to dedicate more time to yoga right now. And plus, I maybe have other things to tell you. So you're going to inhale up, exhale, forward fold. Go ahead and be in your downward dog. Drop your knees to the ground in tabletop. And then you could either cross your feet in front of you, or you could sit on your feet and ankles, because that's really nice for your feet and ankles. And that pose, when you're sitting on your feet and ankles and you're sitting up nice and tall, you'll feel the front of your thigh, your quadriceps stretch. And you're also allowing flexibility in your ankles and your feet. Not all adults right now can do that based on maybe different sports they played or injuries that have happened. I'm going to do this so you can see me better. Now we're on the floor because the two children are getting ready to set sail, um, setting sail back to getting to the shore. So as they're traveling to the shore, you'll want your feet could be as wide as your mat, and my hands are behind. They're noticing mermaids and mermans moving their tails back and forth and wave at the mermaids and mermans. Oh, hello, mermaids and mermans. So all they're doing here, you can also call these windshield wipers. So let's say you want to take, this is an idea, take the wheels on the bus and make it like yoga. This is when you could do, when the wipers on the bus go swish, swish, swish. So it could be your mermaid or merman pose. Then the neighbors they got to shore and they're so happy, but they're noticing other things on the shore. Now, when you were younger, you did this pose, but it's been a while and you might have forgot. You want your fingertips to face your hips. And what happens here is I'm going to do hammock at first. And then those of you that want to fully pull up to reverse table, you could, but this would be our crab. So this is a hammock where you just lift your butt off the ground. And maybe you're telling a story and the children need to rest in the hammock. But if you want to see the crabs today on the shore, you push your hips all the way up. Your head can go back if it feels comfortable. And then slowly come down. And the neighbor children are so happy about everything they see that they came around and they hugged each other. So hug around your knees so you can feel that counter action of how you were stretching your back. And now we're rounding it a bit to create that counter action. And they're just so happy. And as they're looking out on the ocean, remembering the warriors and remembering things they saw, they see other people there on boats. So we have lots of ways to do boats. For adults, you'll be leaning more back, a little further back than your sit bones, not on your lumbar spine. I repeat, not on your lumbar spine. You're on more on your sacrum. So if you were like, no, I don't want to do that now, Tammy, your toes can just be here, or you can lift here, or you can lift here, or you can fully lift your legs up and there's your boat. And it's just like in my pictures. What you'll notice about the boat, everyone, is that you'll feel shaky. You would probably felt shaky in the boat, because that's true a lot of core. So you could do the small boats. Then they saw turtles. So you make your feet wide and inhale up with your arms. Bring your turtle. I know there should be there's a scientific name for this, and I apologize that I don't know it right now. But if you want to have your turtle arms go, they can go underneath your legs if you want the kids to do a little extra. And then the kids could touch the tops of their feet and shine the turtle shell. So this is turtle. And there we go. And the neighbor children were so happy for the day that they decided, I don't know if we can walk all the way back. We may need to ask a grown up to come our families. I hope they'll be picking us up. And sure enough, they were. The children went home and they were so excited by their adventure. that my knees are as wide as my mat. I'm touching my big toe. They rested in their child's pose. So I want you to just sit and rest in your child's pose for a moment. Okay. Oh, we're doing great. We're doing really great. So take a moment to rest in your child's pose. Now, I certainly would like to get more, if some of you were ever interested, and you could casually bring yourself up from child's pose. Take your time. I did on the resource sheet, what I did for you this time, if any of you were with me last year, I drew the pictures of the partner poses the best that I could. It does come from the book Yoga Friends. That's on your resource list. And so I have drawings there. If we ever had more time, I would delve more into partner poses. What I do want to say is there's one thing, I think it was on your first page, and I italicized it, about tapping. Oh, it's on page 2, smack dab in the middle of the handout, page 2. I italicized the benefits of tapping. Sometimes some children on the autism spectrum, what I've used with them is I might have those plastic bracelets, and it would be red right, and this one would be purple left lavender, to help them with right and left, or just a tapping sensation. We're going to move this arm and letting them tap it. So there's a lot of different strategies that you can use with children on the autism spectrum. I want you to notice on your resource page, the very first book I put on there is Asanas for Autism and Special Needs. And when one of my yoga certifications I actually did with Shawnee, and the book is really helpful. So I just wanted you to know that. I'm trying to think what else I would like to tell you, but I still have a little bit of time, and what I would like to do for you is I want to talk about and have you just practice it a little bit on how I've used the term shavasana. And I really say shavasana with children and adults because when it's translated, it's corpse pose. And I don't like that. And shavasana is like the rest part of yoga. So you saw we got our breath going, then we did our poses, and now we're going into the rest, the restoring of your body. So typically, I'm going to talk about 3 to 5-year-olds right now. I've had some 3 to 5-year-olds when I've done yoga. They've been with me. They've done 30 minutes, and I could get them to do about a minute of relaxing. Sometimes it's 30 seconds. Sometimes I have 3 to 5-year-olds, they're just with it, and they do 45 minutes of the whole yoga, and then I do some sort of restorative for the kids as well. So just for a short moment, because I want to allow time to just see if I can glean from the chat, or if you guys have any questions and we off mic. But let's take a moment for you to pause. Some of you feel free to lay yourself out if you want, or you could be seated upright, but make sure you're nice and relaxed. If you feel safe, close your eyes. Close your eyes. And I'm just going to guide you through maybe a minute or two, little bit of a relaxation. So close your eyes, allow your lids to be heavy, let your jaw relax and your shoulders and your hips. Let your breathing just be as it is. Let your breathing just be as it is. Your arms, your legs, everything's relaxed. Imagine that underneath you and that you're resting on it is a very, very fluffy cloud. And the cloud is so fluffy and soft that you feel your body just sink in it. And it's all supported. No worries. And you're drifting along on your cloud. And you just notice that it's so calm and the temperature is just right for you. No worries. Floating along, allowing everything to rest. You might notice and hear some wonderful sounds of birds, or just the sound of a gentle wind. And for a moment, you just enjoy silence. Your cloud now begins to come back down closer to earth, so that as you slowly waken yourself up by moving your fingers, your toes, maybe your shoulders. If you're laying down, go ahead and turn and lay on one of your sides. And you're becoming more aware that you're back to your daily schedule. Wherever you are, I want you to take your hands and rub them together, especially if your eyes are closed. Create heat. And then I want you to carefully lay your hands over your eyes. You don't have to squish your eyes, but just lay your heated hands over your eyes and flicker your eyes a bit so that you can slowly move your hands away and the light isn't as intense. Now, that was a really short thing, and I kind of aimed it towards you guys as adults. Sometimes I use music, sometimes I use sound like a bell or a rain stick if I know children don't have any trauma with any harsh noises. So there's lots of wonderful things you can do with that last part. And there's no set time. Now, what I would like to do, and Karen may have noticed this, Karen, were there any burning questions that I wasn't able to see because I had to kind of be moving in the webinar?
There was a question: if a child cannot get on the floor and move lower body seated in wheelchair, just do top movements, question mark.
Yes, as long as you know their physical therapist is okay with their body positioning, you know, take a look at some of the poses and talk to the therapist and say, I'm interested in doing warrior 1 or warrior 2, and maybe moving their head and making sure that the ones you're interested in, maybe a little bit of a forward fold, that positioning wise, that would be okay for the child.
Next is, how long is your session with 2 and 3-year-olds?
Oh gosh, so short. And you know, so sometimes it's surprising. Maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it just depends. And the one thing I want to say to you about that too is if their families are with them, I try to do something where they're engaging with their families too, and that can make it last a little bit longer. Tomorrow night, I'm doing 2 sessions with families that are going to have kids that young. So I know to be prepared for anything.
What do
And
you
then,
do?
oh,
Oops.
Karen,
What do
I
you
just want
do?
to say,
Oh, one more.
and
Okay.
know that you don't have to do like sessions. It's okay to use certain poses for transition. Okay, I'm sorry, Karen.
What do you do with the one in class that is not doing anything? Because there's always one.
Oh, you know what? You know, oh, there goes my dogs. They did really good. They hear something. They're very protective of the house. What I do with that is maybe I would give them a job or let them sit quietly in a pose that they could demonstrate. Something like that, because you are going to get kids that you might have to give them something else to do. Maybe if you're going to use a